Welcome back to another episode of Blue Duck Fantasy Football. My name is Matt, and this is my second take at attempting to do a mock draft here tonight for you here with the two quarterback settings. Unfortunately, the last time I attempted one, there was some technical difficulties, and I wasn't able to do it. But anyways, I was the 12th spot, and it actually turned out pretty well, I thought. At the turn on 12, I got Nick Chubb and Ezekiel Elliott, rounding out the running backs there. 3 and 4, I had to get one of my quarterbacks there, which was Joe Burrow, and I picked up Scary Terry McLaurin in the beginning of round 4. Round 5, I hit Amari Cooper, which is a very nice second receiver, and Ryan Tannehill, which is a nice second quarterback for this league. Round 7 and 8, I got a couple of Broncos. I got Jerry Jeudy, who I really like this year, and Melvin Gordon, who is a starting running back to start the year. Not too sure that that's how he'll finish the year, but anyways, I got three starting running backs to start the year, and then running backs we can deal with a little bit later on. Irv Smith I got at the end of round 9 for my tight end. Brandon Cooks is my 4th wide receiver. At the end of round 11, I picked up my must cuff with Ezekiel Elliott with Tony Pollard. And Elijah Moore from the Jets, really high upside. I was able to go for a couple of high upside wide receivers just because my top 4 wide receivers I thought were pretty solid, were in their roles, and didn't really have to count on them exceeding their expectations. And then I hit Bryan Edwards at the end of round 13. At this point, we were getting a little bit thin on players, so I did go with Chuba Hubbard at the beginning of round 14. Granted, I don't have Christian McCaffrey, but if McCaffrey gets hurt, then I've got a third running back that I can start every week. Followed up by Sam Darnold as my third quarterback, just because you do require a third quarterback to be taken in a 2 QB league. And I rounded out my draft with Javian Hawkins with a bit of a flyer from Atlanta. And obviously that may not work out, but that is my last pick of the draft, and I'm not too concerned if I have to drop that pick. So we're getting onto this one. It's the same settings that I just read off to you, which is 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex, and 8 bench spots. So now in this draft here, I've got pick number 1. So I've got both bookends for our drafts today. So pick number 1 is pretty easy. It's going to be Patrick Mahomes, but I'll just get the draft started here. So like I just mentioned, pick number 1.1 in a 2 QB / Superflex type league is always going to be Patrick Mahomes. The odd person will take Christian McCaffrey, but Patrick Mahomes is the right one. Okay, so we've got Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, Lamar Jackson, and Dak Prescott also went in the first round. So you can see quarterbacks go quite early here, and a lot of good running backs go in round 2 here. The wide receivers didn't come off the board until end of round 2 or mid to late round 2, which is kind of nice for us here. But anyways, I think at this point, because I've got Mahomes, I can go 1 wide receiver and 1 running back. So for running back wise, I'm going to take Joe Mixon. He is the running back I like best out of this group of Gibson, Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, especially with that injury concern as of date recording with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And for wide receiver wise, I'm going to be taking wide receiver Calvin Ridley. So we're going to let these guys go. So we got Gibson, Hopkins, Metcalf, Kittle, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. A couple of good wide receivers in Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown. A couple more quarterbacks off the board here. All the good running backs are now pretty well off the board. Hopefully that one falls to me. A couple actually do fall to me, which I'm not terribly excited about, but I don't hate either, in Chris Carson and Miles Sanders. And I've also got my choice of the Tampa Bay wide receivers and Amari Cooper here. Not looking at tight end anymore. I mean, there is TJ Hawkinson. I might actually take TJ Hawkinson. I should retract that. I might take him at the beginning of round 5 here. After TJ, it is a pretty significant drop after you've got Kelsey, Waller, Kittle, and Andrews and Pitts are already off the board here. And there's quite a few wide receivers I'm okay with as a wide receiver too. Julio, Cooper, Godwin, Evans, DJ Moore. So I will take Chris Carson. I just trust him a little bit more than Miles Sanders. And I will take TJ Hawkinson as my tight end. So I'm set with my tight ends, and I don't have to worry about that for the rest of the draft here. So not unexpectedly, these wide receivers are flying off the board. And like I said, that's just a situation I'll just deal with. I've got like the rest of my core of my teams here. So Tannehill and Ryan also went. Unfortunately, I would have liked to grab one of those two fellas at the turn here, but I'm more than happy to draft Matthew Stafford. I think he's going to do really well in LA, so that is an easy first choice for me here. And I'm going to take T. Higgins from Cincinnati here. I think he's going to be their top wide receiver for their first half of the year for sure. Likely finishes as their top wide receiver. I don't think Chase is going to overtake him, and White I think is the third option for them there. I don't mind Michael Thomas, but it's a little early for me at this point because he is out the first 4 weeks. I could see them at least taking him through the bye. There's not really need to risk that, and it sounds like there's quite a bit of tension with him right now. I'm not a huge fan of stacking up with Mixon and Higgins, but that offense I think is going to be pretty good, so we're just going to run that risk with T. Higgins here. So Michael Thomas goes next. A couple more quarterbacks with Baker and Tua. And like the running backs here are getting very, very thin very quick. Unfortunately, I've put myself in that own position, but I've got luckily 2 studly running backs, in my opinion, that I can trust every week. A lot of people are off on Joe Mixon. I can't get on board with that just at this point. There's just too much talent there. So 8.12 and 9.1. I have to get my third running back here. It's Leonard Fournette. With Ronald Jones, you don't really know what's going to happen. David Johnson, really don't know what's going to happen in Houston. It sounds like might even be Philip Lindsay show at that to start. Zach Moss is going to be splitting with Devin Singletary. Singletary's looked pretty good this preseason. But I will have to take one of those running backs, unfortunately. And wide receiver here, I think Juju's going to be my pick here. PPR, high floor. He gets a lot of targets, so I'm okay with Juju at the end of round 8 here. Not a huge ceiling, but a good floor. And out of my running backs here that I mentioned, Zach Moss, Leonard Fournette, there's Connor and Drake below. I like Zach Moss the most. Just don't trust Singletary that much to keep it up, so Zach Moss is going to be my pick there. So you can see a lot more quarterbacks are going off the board here in this round, 4 more, with Deshaun Watson included. That just doesn't seem like a situation I would be kind of surprised if he ends up playing it all this year, to be honest with you. Brandon Cooks, I like the value there, and Antonio Brown there. Those two are pretty good. Actually, Tyler Boyd too, but I would have never taken Boyd to go along with T. Higgins and Joe Mixon. I like that offense, but not enough for that sort of thing. Anyways, my next pick here, it's still going to be running back, wide receiver. As you're going to see, I'm going to just keep continually going back and hammering those positions as much as I can. I'm going to take Mike Williams. I still really like the talent there. That offense is going to be very good again this year, I think. So yeah, there's nothing really to take me away from Mike Williams, especially as a wide receiver number 4 at this point. So when we go back to running backs here, not going to take Singletary. I don't want both Buffalo backs. So now we're looking at James Conner, who I really don't like, and I won't take him. Kenyon Drake, but you got Josh Jacobs there. A.J. Dillon, you're depending on Aaron Jones to get hurt, essentially, to be really effective. I mean, he's going to get some goal line carries likely because he's such a big body, but Aaron Jones is also really effective in that red zone. So that brings us to Gus Edwards, who isn't a sexy pick by any stretch of the imagination. but he's very solid. They use the running backs quite a bit in Baltimore, and that offense runs through the run game. So I'm going to be taking good old Gus Bus right there. So there's a couple of guys I was talking about that I didn't want to take: James Conner, Kenyon Drake, AJ Dillon, Corey Davis. 11.9 is not bad. Darnell Mooney, also not bad. Tony Pollard, if you're the Ezekiel Elliott owner, which that team is not, he passed on him for some reason. Oh, no, he didn't quite make it to there. You need Tony Pollard if you're going to draft Ezekiel Elliott, just like you need Chuba Hubbard if you're going to be taking Christian McCaffrey. Okay, so I mentioned him a little bit earlier. Philip Lindsay is hanging around at 12.12, and I think that's appealing because it sounds like he is the first of the 3 backs to go there, if you include Mark Ingram in that situation. It's not great, but I don't mind him here just because of the lack of other options that are available. Like T.Y. is pretty solid for a floor guy, but I've got 4 floor wide receivers, I think, already, so I'm looking more for like upside players at this point. Jamal Williams, he's a very solid player. DeAndre Swift, you're never certain what's going to happen there, but I'm not going to take him. I'm going to take Philip Lindsay just because of what I've seen so far in preseason. That it sounds like he's the guy. Now we're at pick 13.1. So I mentioned I'm going to look for a wide receiver with some upside here. So let's start finding that player. And here he is. It's Bryan Edwards from the Las Vegas Raiders. He's getting a lot of hype. I really liked him last year coming out of college. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. Fortunately for us, the ADP dropped on him quite a bit, so he is hanging around in the later rounds, and it's definitely somebody I'm willing to take a flyer on because he does have wide receiver 3 probably upside at this point. So we have, again, nobody that I'm terribly upset about missing out on here that's gone in the middle. Madison is a good cuff as well. J.D. McKissick had some nice weeks last year, but it's not Alex Smith there anymore. It's Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't think that is going to be repeating itself. J.D. McKissick, sorry about that. Okay, so another wide receiver with a lot of upset that I like is Paris Campbell. He's still sitting there. I do need to take a quarterback as well before this is finished because it is a 2 quarterback league, and you do need to have that backup available. So Sam Darnold, Ben Roethlisberger, Derek Carr, all sitting there. I think those guys will still be there when I pick again at the end of round 16. Seems to be some sort of sleeper glitch. So I'm going to take Paris Campbell, another high upside wide receiver here. And with the news of the injury to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, we're going to be looking at more closely at Darrell Williams, as we don't really know what's going to be going on. Apparently he's got a concussion as well, so maybe not so much. Ramondre Stevenson's been looking really well and really good in the preseason, so I'm just actually going to go there. New England backfield, you never know. Damian Harris isn't that great, and Sonny Michel, no thank you. So Ramondre Stevenson, lots of upside here. Again, late in the draft, you might as well go for the upside plays here. So Gabe Davis, I like him. That would have been another player I would have considered. You can see all the running backs and wide receivers just going off the board here. I was going to say everybody's done with tight ends until Ferkser went there, but generally speaking, running backs and wide receivers, you're just kind of taking flyers here. This is also usually a player that you can drop if you need to. This is your last pick. So as I suspected, nobody went back for a third quarterback here, so I've got my choice of Darnold, Carr, Roethlisberger. I'm going to take Big Ben. As long as my bye weeks don't mess anything up here. So that's just something I'm just going to quickly check with bye weeks. So Mahomes is week 12. Stafford is week 11. Big Ben is week 7, so we are good to take Big Ben Roethlisberger. So that is my team. I'm just going to expand this here so it's a little bit easier to look at. So we've got Patrick Mahomes and Matthew Stafford as the quarterbacks. Really good combo there. Mixon and Carson I'm okay with. Not huge fans of it, but just given how fast the running backs were going off the board, I was happy to grab Chris Carson as my second running back. They're both bell cow running backs. Not really anybody there to take a threat away from taking any of their carries. I don't believe that they'll start feeding Penny in his last year on his contract in Seattle. For wide receivers, I have Calvin Ridley, who's a top 5 wide receiver for me this year. Got him at the beginning of round 3. I'm very happy with that. T. Higgins is a solid wide receiver too. No issues with him. Again, there's doubling up on that Cincinnati offense, but they're going to be a good offense. They've got a lot of good weapons, and they're going to put up a lot of points. Their O-line is a little bit suspect still, but it did improve a little bit over the offseason. T.J. Hawkinson, top 5 tight end. Once you take a top 5 tight end, you no longer have to worry about that, so I was okay taking him at the beginning of round 5. Then I had Juju as my flex, which can also be Zach Moss, Mike Williams, Gus Edwards, Philip Lindsay if need be. A couple of high upside wide receivers with Brian Edwards and Paris Campbell. A decent high upside with Ramondre Stevenson, depending on how that New England backfield shakes out. And then a third quarterback that just always seems to be okay. He never seems to be great, but just okay the last couple of years here. That's Big Ben. So I hope you enjoyed this mock draft here, 2 quarterbacks. Feel free to comment and explain why I made the incorrect choices when I did. Of course, hindsight is always 20/20, but if you feel like I made a wrong move somewhere, feel free to let us know. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you did both.